Yeah, look, I think that the reality is it's an incredibly difficult time for a lot of people, as you're saying. And, when it comes to what we do once we're made redundant, clearly, without wanting to oversimplify the situation, there are a lot of things people need to be doing to make sure that they are maintaining their mental health, their confidence, the strength of their spirits. They can actually, obviously, start to move forward and to redefine what it is that they're going to be able to do moving forward.
What about future-proofing your career post-COVID-19? Because the goalposts have changed for a lot of people. Many people have been agile, nimble, have found other ways to make a dollar.
Yeah, that's right. So I think, for all of us, there's, I think, a real necessity to really take the benefits that we do gain from this time. So again, obviously, it's incredibly difficult for a lot of people, but it is forcing us to think outside the square, to really challenge, how we work, where we work, what we do. So, there's going to be people who have discovered things that they are able to do on the side that could be a venture moving forward. There's people who are suddenly thinking, well, was I really happy on that career path anyway? So again, without wanting to sound naive, that it's, simple for people just to shift direction. I do think that, aligning our careers with what we love, what we're great at, what gives us energy is a great starting point. So if you are in a situation where you're having to get the blank piece of paper out and really challenge what the future of your work life looks like, then now's a great opportunity to really challenge that.
What do you see as the real benefits for ongoing flexible working conditions?
Look, I think, if you just think about it on the very pragmatic level, so I've got clients who are starting to run out of physical accommodation in their offices, and rentals in city buildings are obviously typically very expensive. So, some of our clients are starting to say, well, do we really need that much accommodation? So clearly that's one issue. But then you've also got a whole bunch of people who are saying, you know what, I actually feel more focused, I feel more balanced, and I actually feel more productive. So some organisations are starting to release insights to their productivity levels, and it's skyrocketing in some professions. So, I think we need to get past that conventional wisdom and the limiting beliefs that tell us that there's one way of working. I do think we need to really challenge what I see as more of a blended approach to working. So, some time in the office, some time out of the office, and making sure that we're obviously still coming together as a team. So I think for organisations, clearly, if they can provide a work experience where people do feel more balanced and that their work life suits them better, clearly attracting, retaining people is easier. But then also just in terms of people's energy levels, their levels of engagement. So I think there's a lot of benefits. Clearly, it depends on the job and the team environment and everything else that needs to happen. But I'd argue in many instances there are reasonable ways which flexible work can be included.
I know I speak for a lot of parents here, avoiding burnout for children who are on their computers, online learning, and then they want to lurch towards their devices for other things.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So how do, particularly, we're talking here corporate work here, how do people avoid that burnout from being connected 24/7?
Absolutely agree with you. And that's where my mind went when you mentioned the kids. It's like teach them early, because as adults we can be just as bad at that. The reality is when we're working and living in the same physical environment, it can be awfully tempting just to keep going and to just, extend our work day. When we're in the office, we tend to have natural breaks, whether we're travelling into the office, whether we're going out to get lunch, whether we're, having a chat with a colleague in the kitchen. There is a real danger that when we're in our isolated home offices that we could just keep going. So there's that issue. But then also, for all the parents who are working at home, sharing the kitchen bench with their partner, homeschooling children, looking after young ones, I think what's important is that we recognise that this is, these are stressful environments or circumstances that we're in. So we have to be quite deliberate in how do I create some time away, even if it's I just go and do a bit of gardening. How do we actually communicate as a family to make sure that we can all juggle all of these demands, in terms of our work as well as obviously our family lives.
Many people watching today would either have or could have lost their job or be in positions where they are looking to move in another direction. There could be people watching and thinking of their family members, of what their next job may be after what's gone down. What are some of the more in-demand skills?
Well, I think the very obvious one there is around technology. You know, clearly there's a whole lot of technology in the world that I don't believe we even knew how to use effectively. So even video conferencing, etc., it was available to us for a long time, but whether or not we actually leveraged it to its full potential, I think is debatable. So anything in the space where we're advancing technology, but leveraging technology, and this doesn't mean we all have to now become programmers, but in that space of helping people, organisations to leverage technology to be successful. So I think that, you know, again, technology will take away some jobs, but I do think we'll see a lot more jobs being centred around also, for example, our wellness, our health. You know, I think this scenario now might actually finally teach us we need to seriously invest in the types of professions and roles that are designed to keep us well. So, you know, I think I'll be very surprised, for example, if psychologists don't have a lot to do in the next years ahead. But I do think, you know, whether it's in counselling, whether it's in social work, whether it's in, you know, just broadly supporting people through life, I think in the foreseeable future, there's going to be a lot to do in that space. So, you know, even things like personal training and, you know, again, managing that overarching wellness space. I think people are going to become more and more acutely aware of that. So again, clearly it's always hard to predict exactly what the future looks like, but I would be turning my mind to what does the world need? You know, what are we really missing and what do we need more of?
Finally, and I don't want to be quick here, but we're going to be dashed for time. I worked at Franklin's when I was at school and uni and absolutely hated it, but I knew I had to pack those shelves if I wanted money in my pocket. Some people have to work jobs they don't like. How do you thrive in that position?
Yeah, you continue to focus on the purpose, exactly as you just said. I knew that if I wanted money in my pocket, that's what I had to do. Now, clearly, just working for money is not something that's sustainable for a lot of people, but we do have to, through these really challenging times, you know, accept our reality and, you know, take the steps we need to just to survive and clearly continue to be committed to moving in directions that we really want to over time.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.